drawn to it, sketching doodles in your textbooks. In the corners making animation flip books. Writing stories, then turn them into comics. Shucks, get out the clay, I'm a sculpt Garth Brooks. It doesn't matter how you create, cause you're drawn to it, drawn to it. It only matters you create when you're drawn to it, drawn to it. Get creative and flex imagination. Write a song, you might hear it on a station.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Drawn to It podcast. I have with me André Boulard. I apologize if I mispronounced that. I have a hard time with your last name.
All good.
Okay. André is a fantastic 2D artist, illustrator, caricature artist, very well known in the city of Moncton for doing caricature services, and also pet portraits, hyper-realistic pet portraits. One of my favorite 2D illustrators, definitely. And thank you, André, for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's such an honor, man. Thanks for the comments. It's really cool.
Yeah, no worries. So getting into it, part of the reason this podcast exists is I want to shine a light on the talent that is in New Brunswick. And of course, you know, that means you. So what I like to do is sort of share the stories, the ups and downs of the talented people, because I know for me, when I hear another artist and their journey, when they've gone into deep lows and come up into high highs, and I find it very inspiring. So I guess my first question to you would be, how did you get started in pursuing 2D art on a professional level?
Long story short, basically, is back then I came here in 2008. I did. I'm going to be very open to that. I did a massive depression, and I've done stuff outside my comfort zone to get me out of that thought of depression. But I was doing a lot of music as well to get my mind somewhere. And that was really hard. And then in 2010, 11, I somebody from Superstore where I work, they asked me, "Hey, you should probably apply to school." And I was like, "Nah, it's all right," because my attitude was kind of like, whatever. I didn't know much because I was not really extroverted. Like I was not like really social and stuff. So basically, what happened is, out of nowhere, it says, "Yeah, whatever. I'll just go." And then I brought my portfolio and stuff because I did some hyper-realistic portrait and stuff. And basically, this person that saw my work at Mackenzie College, they were like, "Whoa, this is kind of amazing!" Like whatever. I didn't know, I was like, I was just drawing myself, whatever. I know it was good, it was like I was challenging myself back then to do the realistic stuff, because I've seen so many other artists out there doing this hyper realistic, so I tried it out. But I brought these pieces down there, and at the end of all this portfolio showing and stuff, I only had like 5 pieces of hyper realistic. They were taking like 40 hours to make, which is a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's just in trying to put all these when you draw on paper, just to say that every shading you do, there's piece of holes of white because it doesn't give you the full smooth finish, right? So the reason why it takes so long is because you fill in all these little white holes and then install this smooth transition of shading by the pencil. So it's very long, but it's super refined. So that's my way of doing it. And that's why it took 40, sometimes 50. But that's why I don't do it every day because it's too long, right?
Yeah, unbelievable. And back then, who were you looking to as your artistic inspiration?
Mostly, I started looking at illustrators for Magic the Gathering and some stuff on was it cgtalk.com? I don't know if it exists still, but it's almost like an art station, and all these amazing artists is on there. And comparing myself back then was somewhat pros and cons, because it really depressed in that way, but won't go there yet. Look, but the thing is I went to school, and they gave me a free scholarship. So it was $8,000 free scholarship, fully funded.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then I did a bankruptcy, and I was saying like, I don't have money for this stuff, really.
Yeah.
It's just they offered this, the whole thing paid. I had to teach some co-op student there, and which I met. Chloe Couture is now working for one of the big companies for animation, because she wanted to do animation, and she's really talented. She's doing background coloring. And
wow.
Yeah, it's a small world, but they're still connected to these same people, man. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people, especially students, they don't know or they can't appreciate that their college nucleus, the people they're going to meet in college, are going to somehow stay attached to them for their entire career.
Yeah.
And you know, like there's I'm going on 23 or 24 years out of college now, and I'm still talking to people I went to school with, people who are in a position to give me work, and people who are looking for work, reaching out saying, "Hey Brian, have you heard of anything?" Like there's a network that you form. And so really try to calm your youthful ego and try not to be a jerk to your fellow peers when you're in college, because, you know, take it from somebody who knows, you're going to have to make apologies many years later.
Yeah.
So, you know, just
try not to. Yeah. Over the years, I've learned not to have the mentality of show off.
Yeah. says the man in the bright red shirt and the afro.
It's not real, but whatever. Yeah. So this fro gives me the ability to go outside my fright. So I mean, that's why I'm focusing myself to force myself to do that. These days.
I love it.
But anyways, totally random. The ego is trying to make you feel down all the time, despite consciously you don't think. It's almost like a judgment to yourself every single time.
Yes.
And it's a very hard thing on your shoulders. And over the years, because I drawn so many years after Mackenzie College, comparing myself to these highest artists and all these magic the I wanted to be them instead of myself.
Right.
And without this joining of this, I would not really realize it until I realized it, because, you know, practice developing yourself. But over the years, like when I started and I left Mackenzie College, I was one of the best. Well, actually, the best one. I'm not trying to show off. I made some amazing connection. I still have connections from down there, and I'm still doing some stuff with the people with photos and stuff. And some people went back to do photography and stuff, and I did the same thing, but I didn't go to Mackenzie. We have a nice group of people and friends, and that's all the same people that I used to be hanging out with, which is cool.
Yeah. Now I can vouch for you when you say I'm not trying to show off. I can vouch to people that André is one of the most selfless artists out there. Gracious with time, offering constructive criticism, always looking to bring somebody up to a positive level. Never ever approaching another artist or critiquing a drawing in a way of saying that's just horrible, it's crap, you should stop. Complete opposite of that. André is always trying to bring people up. And that's what makes you so lovable.
Well, I try. I'm not trying to people that like me and stuff, but this is the way I am as a person, really. In general, it doesn't have to be drawing. It doesn't matter if it's music or whatever. I meet people, and it's like when you start talking about yourself and how you develop yourself, you can motivate somebody else in a certain way. So whatever you do in your life, add
now
part of yourself.
Can we go back earlier when we started? You mentioned being in a deep depression. And I just want to talk about that because I suffer with depression. I struggle with it daily. Depression and general social anxiety. I battle with these things every day, and they can be some days paralyzing where, it will literally prevent you from trying to achieve anything. Literally, you don't want to get out of bed.
Okay.
Do you find that the art path has been a source of calming for you, or does the journey to become better and better and better create more anxiety for you?
For me, I think the art in general has filtered off a lot of things, and it made me believe I could do something. And this is against your depression, because your depression is like, if you stay here, you rust, right? And that rusting part of it leads to depression because you're not moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be over the years, I noticed that when you're into your own space and you stay there, you don't move, your emotions and your thoughts starts to fight you, and it's like you're not moving forward. And the only way to move forward is to be outside your comfort zone, challenging your stage fright. For me, that's what it is. That's why I'm doing these weird stuff, going outside and taking caricatures. It's a very difficult thing to do because you're going against yourself, but you're doing it for the right intention so that you can move forward. And these little connections that happens through that, it's uplifting. It's not going backward. I'm not a person that's going to go like do drugs and all this drinking and all this stuff, because I know that right now life has given me a gift. Why not treat it like a gift and give it away in that way, right? And develop that sense of comfort, because I find comfort when I share it, right? But you're locked into your box. You can't share yourself. And I find that sharing your life with people, that's where we need to be. Because I told somebody about some certain things about life being what we receive in life. Like, let's say that our brain has neurons, right? But we are the neurons. But if you're always staying in one place, you can't connect with another neuron, right? And the neuron does not spark if you're rusty. So if you go outside, you start digging into the neurons that's going to connect with your brain, I guess. It's kind of outside the mentality, but it's like the planet.
I love it.
The planet is the brain. We are the neurons, and the universe is the energy. So the universe helps us to extend ourselves through the neurons in the planet.
And you couldn't get a more artistic philosophy description than that. I love it. And I agree with everything you just said. Some days it's really hard. Well, a lot of days for me, it's very, very hard to.
I'll challenge you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
I'll challenge you. Every day, go outside, do a caricature for somebody or something that is outside your comfort while you feel that way.
So I used to set up and do caricatures. I've told you that before privately. And I stopped doing it because I've never had so many panic attacks at one time because of people looking over your shoulder. And I was trained to draw caricatures straight ahead in marker. We would use a type of marker called a marquette.
Okay.
It had a very thick brush tip to it. So it was a very thick and thin style caricature. And people standing over your shoulder looking. Every line you put down, you hear a, ooh, oh, he got you. Or, oh, that doesn't look like them, Don't
care about that sort of thing.
Oh, my God. And I used to set up like on the streets in Oakville. I did it once in Toronto. And Miramichi, I would do it. And I had to stop. I couldn't. As soon as people watch over my shoulder. So what I'm doing as a counter to your challenge, what I'm doing is every Wednesday I'm going to do live streams.
Okay.
Doing animation on live streaming on YouTube. And if I can get comfortable doing that, then I'll stretch out a bit more. And because this podcast and the live streams, really, my wife is kind of like, you need to start doing it again, because when you were doing it before, it was really helping your mental health.
Yeah.
And I agree with her, although I couldn't see it at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, she's kind of forcing me to get back into this. So
Yeah, no. It's
so I don't know how you stay calm when you set up and do live caricatures, because you get those people like, oh, he got you, or oh, that doesn't look like them.
If you go with the fro, you have a bro.
Right on.
Because
yeah.
if you can make people laugh and they're coming on you, and try not to think about, oh, I gotta look professional. No, you have to look like a kid. Don't understand anything, but he wants to play. So I was doing this emotional fitness a couple of days. They made me go through a time capsule to think about what this kid would do if I was right now, and they compare it to now. And it's like, it pushed me to refeel this little kid that wanted to play and not waste your time on stuff that's not feeding you in that way, right? So anyways, before I do the characters, I tend to feel like I need to set up to make myself look professional. It's too much pressure. So why not?
So much pressure.
Oh yeah, it's massive pressure. It's like going to that would be, it's like going singing out there. You're going to do a competition, and then you overthink it, maximize. I don't know why I overthink it, but it's putting yourself in a super massive stage fright.
Yes.
Once you go outside and you start singing, without being professional, you go on Main Street, you force that stage fright, it feels like natural. Once you're on that stage fright level and you stay in it, and you basically meditate somehow, eventually it starts to go away, and then you start to believe in yourself, right? Yeah. Because it's part of you. Anything you do for yourself is you. So challenging that stage fright makes you less afraid of yourself against what people will say about you or not. Because when you're going outside and doing stuff that is stage fright, and you're staying there, you're letting people judge you. And then eventually that people that's judging you because you think that people judged you, eventually it goes away, because you're comfortable of that judge. You're accepting who you are as a person. It's pretty deep. But
very deep. Yeah.
And this is so important. That's what I'm doing right now, is forcing this stage fright so I can stop thinking what people think, because it's actually a judgment towards myself as well. Right. And it's a lot of pressure. Overthinking of judging yourself, it's heavy on your shoulder, and you can't move forward with that sort of thing. So
and it will put out that creative flame. It will snuff it right out, and that's what happened to me over the past couple years. All my passion for drawing gone, just disappeared. Didn't care if I ever drew again. And just recently it's come back, and I can't put my finger on what sparked it again, but I missed it. I missed it without knowing I missed it.
Okay, that usually when you come back to your childhood, because that's what you were, right? So back then, not sure if you drew or not, but what this little kid of Brian Finlay would do. I know it's weird, but if you see the child, it will not judge you. It was just going to be enjoying its time with now, right? Instead of thinking of the future or the past. We have problems of thinking of the past or future. We're not living in the present moment. And living in those two sides of things is just adding more to your life for no reason. Just go flow with it. But I mean, obviously take your time to, build this up.
Do you find a lot of artists that you meet have they fall somewhere on that spectrum of depression and anxiety?
Yeah. There's I met some people at Central Park. I was there, super chill, talking about life experience and how I grew and stuff like that. And they were there as people I knew, but they were very frightening. Like, not frightening in sense of afraid of talking, but they were somewhat for me, I kind of judged it as if that I saw myself back then when I was not really exposing myself and being myself personally, authentically.
Yeah.
Despite what people.
Authentically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Authentically, despite. I love those two words put together. Authentic, despite. That should be a t-shirt that you have, because that sums you up perfectly.
I'm going to have to write this down.
Authentic, and right under that, despite. I've two words that just encapsulate who Andre is.
Wow.
Which is why you inspire me a great deal. And I've told you that before when we came up and we filmed with you.
Usually we connect with certain people for a reason. It's not just like,
yes,
you might feel the vibration of who I am as a person, and it's like I have a message for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To share these messages so we can grow. And without connections, we can't grow. So, like I said, it's.
I think you got to get back to your streaming, because there are so many artists out there who could benefit from your perspective on life, how you go about conquering yourself, because you are very you're like the Mr. Miyagi of how to go about conquering yourself.
Okay.
When you speak with other artists, you have a great perspective on it, and you and I have talked before about similar issues, and I've always walked away feeling, yeah, if I could just think more like that and get out of my own funk.
No,
but here's a question for you. When do you have moments when you feel yourself slipping back into it?
Yes.
Like, do you have to fight to stay at that positive level?
There's always an up and down, no matter what. If you notice the up, it's okay, as long as you not go backward and staying into the same place. Sometimes if you have something like there's days like a couple of weeks ago, I felt like I'm going backward. I'm gonna lose everything.
Right.
It's like your brain is just overthinking so much, and it's like it's not good. It's not good that way. But it's okay. That moment is okay. Go through that moment and try to do stuff despite how you feel. Right.
Despite.
Despite how you feel.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. Despite how you feel, and if you feel so like, even though like I have a lot of freedom, like, so I can go anywhere, anytime. If I feel like I'm somewhat depressed in some ways or negative, I would go outside, maybe do some biking or do some photos, or go outside, do a good deed for somebody out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's like buying a coffee for someone else. Like, that's kind of strange. Nobody does that. You don't see it. But when you're stage fright in that, it feels like you're able to go against how you feel, right? Yeah. Especially when the moments are very hard. Like, I recently going through a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain in that. But I went and just say, frig it, I'm going down there with the giant fro and just kind of like giving some self.
So, is this your superhero costume now when you go out? Yeah, I love it.
It's perfect. The fro, I got this on Amazon, and it's like, it's giving me so much, like, my personality is coming. It just fits my face.
Right.
It's so hilarious.
It's great.
Yeah, and
it's great.
The thing is, when I walk outside, I'll start judging what people think about me.
Right.
So I just walk and let go, and eventually I'm just okay. And it's like I start pushing that level of taking self with people, and people, hey, is that real? Maybe if you want to.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of asked him because they saw the afro. I asked him, do you want to take a selfie? I'm doing a smile a day for a campaign, whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
But those times I was in that massive attack. But what I've understood from that is in the past, I had something infidel happen between my relationship, and it's like it really destroyed me feeling wise.
Right. Yeah.
And I was an artist. I was drawing all the time, which is good because it's filtering all your energy on the sketches and all that stuff. Without that, I would not be as good as I am today. But this moment was so dramatic that I had to go outside and sing and let it go and create a moment for myself, because the intense of pain that I had, I couldn't handle it, so I had to go sing opera. I'm lucky to be able to sing opera down to Main Street. It resonates so big, and it's like people were hearing me from, like, I don't know, the Avenue Center to like the City Hall. Like they could hear me through like the whole street at 11 p.m. to like 1 a.m. Like I was doing that sort of thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but at the same time, I realized that this is challenging my stage fright, and I'm becoming myself better and more comfortable for that situation.
Yeah.
So what I learned from there, going outside my comfort zone, is actually go against my depression or my hurt or my pain or all this stuff. So now I know that if I have a pain, I will be able to cope with it in some ways by triggering new moments in my life. And this week just happened to be in that situation. So
I love it.
And I went shopping.
That's great.
I was with my bag of drawing there, and I was walking like as if I'm a portable caricature guy. It's just a casual dude, like just walking away and then taking videos and stuff. But I was doing caricatures for the people at Champlain Mall, and I met some people that was so socialized. Like the one guy, the father of this whole family on the table, I started drawing her daughter. She really liked my drawing and stuff, which is funny. And at the end of this stuff, he gave me $20, and it's like he talked to me as if like he was not even afraid. He was so well socializing. I don't know how he is able to socialize so easily, but it's making me feel like if he's able to socialize that great without thinking about judging and not be afraid, I can do it. But I have to I feel like I would need to kind of push my stage fright out to be comfortable.
Right.
And all this time for 2 weeks of doing this crazy stuff, I go to Superstore back there and I feel like myself without strange feelings. It's just everything is casual. And I was thinking about, like, recently I did the emotional fitness and the goals that I had in there. If the child that was still there, I told them, like, I go to St. John and then go to the malls and travel and do caricatures and have fun that way, right? To uplifting others in that way. But stay.
So you're approaching socializing in the same way you approach your artwork, which is constantly challenge, go outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Try the new. Don't rest on the comfort of past success. And so you're almost treating socializing like an art form.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's discovering my attitude as well, you know.
Yeah.
And it's putting me
That's
in
great.
the moment in that way. But over time, like I drew for so many years. The first 3 years was the most dramatic, intense pressure, because I really tested my limit, and I tested where I was when I started feeling somewhat burnout. Yeah. It's like I was putting 60 hours a week for like 3 years, and I was working at Superstore for 20 to 25 hours a week. And that's about, 70 to 80 hours a week. And that's a lot of work. I had to decompress in that way. And I don't know why I went through that, but I felt like I needed to do it. So I did it, and I grew that way. But during this time, I wanted to become other artists, other people. I never really focused on who is André Boulard standing for drawings. You know what I mean? Now, like, caricatures is really part of my authentic self, because I'm always goofing around, and I'm realizing, like, anything that's personally, anything that is your personality should be. So which style of drawing feels furthest away from who you are? Your caricatures, your hyperrealism, or your digital rendering? The hyperrealistic. Yeah. It's too long to do things, so I mean that's why I'm not doing it. It's not really showing me as I am. The fine art stuff, it's very my childhood, right? But it was based on trying to compare myself to like illustrators from Magic the Gathering, which is not what I'm at. That's why I did some stuff that was more of my own thing. I like doing character design. This is fun, but it does not represent who I am 100%.
Right.
Over time, I started doing caricatures, and I started feeling like, wow. I did some event stuff, Mosaic, Inspired Festival, ECC, and all the other stuff, and I just felt like this really represented who I was as a person, because I'm actually joking with the person in front of me, and sometimes I say, hey, that's a pretty good nose. Let's jam it up. It's like, so you talk about these things because it's who I am, and it's so easy for me to talk with joking with people without, they put themselves in that spot. They have to expect that I'm going to take jokes.
Sure.
So you gotta goof and make them feel in that way. And some people will be serious. Some people will be like very goofy. And the ones that are very goofy, they're the ones that still connect with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cool. But this really represents my personality, despite how it looks. And it doesn't have to, my caricatures are all sketch. I don't care about, I got to make my beautiful lines, my beautiful stuff. This is a lot of overthinking. As long as it looks like the person and you're able to exaggerate this as crazy as possible, depending on what the person wants, it's okay. Nothing is so serious. That's why I charge my stuff sometimes $5-10. I don't charge because I'm not pressuring myself to charge, $20,000 for one portrait of caricature. Have to be perfect. Every line, every stuff. No. Too much pressure. Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're dropping some wisdom bombs today that I've needed to rehear because we do that as creatives. We can put a tremendous pressure on ourselves. And I agree with you. What for? Why?
For? Is it really representing your personality? What for?
Right.
So, is that serving me or it's not serving? Is it serving me or it's serving the person?
Right.
Usually when you work for a retail place, it's serving them. And the core values of yourself is deleted in some ways. But you meet the people over time, like a superstore, you meet these people that are so like you that you start being yourself. I'm very grateful that I was able to extend myself to the person that reflects my personality. The reason why I'm able to connect with them is because of me, that I am a person that way, right? And the people that are so strict and so like professional can't stand that. I mean, it's not saying I don't like them. It's just I'm saying that the vibe of such a strict responsibility, like let's say a doctor, I will put it that way, doctor or having like, they will take it in. They will listen to you. They'll take it in and they'll analyze it up. And it's like, they're very strong people. They're very disciplined, but there's something missing. They're missing childhood. They dramatically cut this child of themselves away for a professional professional life, which is, people want to have back this childhood usually. Yeah. Right. We go back to our childhood all the time. Me for doing watching movies. I go watch Ninja Turtle. Such a childhood, and it reminds me of the 1990s. Yeah. You know, like, wow, that's representing me. I like the vibe of this childness in there.
It's so weird what will trigger you back to your childhood. Just the other day, my wife and I were out shopping, running errands, and I picked up a little thing of chapstick, one of those blue tin, you know, and I put some on, and the smell of it brought me right back to my childhood in my tiny bedroom, back in the trailer park, but in a happy way. There are moments in your childhood where there's so much comfort associated, and I couldn't explain why, because I have no real memory of this chapstick as a child, but there was something about the smell of it, and I was just whoosh, taken right back to, you know, a happy moment in childhood when I was drawing on my bedroom wall.
Okay.
All the gargoyles from the TV show Gargoyles, right? And I drew this this child hand, a play on the Michelangelo creation, the hands touching, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I did my own version of that where I drew my hand as a child and a representation of my father's hand
Wow.
touching,
Yeah.
right? Right on my bedroom wall. Didn't ask permission, nothing, just drawing
Having in
on my
that
bedroom wall.
moment of life, and the child didn't have to judge. Just
Exactly.
with it and without stage fright
Yeah.
of what my parents was thinking, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
What you want.
All triggered from a little thing of chapstick, and again, no idea why.
That's
So
yeah. And usually that's
Yeah.
that going back to that childhood where even though it's a smell or not, that's where you want to be. You want to have this
Yeah.
feeling. What is Brian Finlay? And that little package of this kid there, right? Force that. Depression will probably go away in some ways because you're feeling this happy-go-lucky person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I always try to figure out like what would Andre back then would do, and
Yeah.
it puts you back to where you feel comfort because we didn't have the stress of life, right?
Yeah. Now, do you ever get up in the morning, you're like, I need to draw something that is representative of this negative feeling I have in me, or positive, but there's a great power in the expulsion of negative energy through an illustration. Do you ever do that, or everything you draw is kind of client based? Excuse me.
Well,
Hold on. Sorry.
some cotton ball coming out of there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a little emotion in the back of my throat there. I had to get rid of it.
Sorry, I make you cry. For me, like illustrating certain illustrations of my anger and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Think it that way? I don't think so. I don't know.
Really?
Because
Really? I find that very interesting with you particularly. You appear to only use your illustrating superpowers in a positive light.
Yeah.
Because in all the conversations I've ever had with you in the past, you've never spoken about a piece you drew because of a way you were feeling that was negative. So you drew this like demon holding skulls or like whatever kind of negative imagery would represent that energy. And then when you were done, you're like, oh, now I'm over it. I do that. And I never show people those. I tend to actually get rid of them after a certain amount of time, but I find it very cleansing.
Okay. It's almost like your journal. A journal that you write stuff about your often. Like I would write some really massive stuff, and I will at the end of this sentence I would do thought from the past or thought from the future, and it's going away. It's so weird. I recently learned this from Yves Doucet. Like I'm having this huge intense anxiety and stuff, and my overthinking is so massive, and my past is causing me this pattern of myself that I cannot trust no one, and I'm trying to figure out a solution for trusting back anyone.
I understand this feeling.
We judge so much, and it's so hard on ourselves, and we should not be doing that. So Yves Doucet recently gave me an exercise of take your thoughts from the past, put one page for that says past and the future, and write whatever thought comes out of you. Write it down. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from the future or is it coming from the past? And eventually, like a day and a half or 2 days after, I went to do a sort of massage for my foot, whatever, and I was relaxed. And then I done it in my head, and it's like any sentence that comes into my head, I will label it coming from the future, and my anxiety goes away. What? It's like a glitch in your head. It's like you're letting go because it's not. You're thinking in the future. You shouldn't be thinking in the future. You shouldn't think by the past. All our past is for memories, and the future is trying to go ahead, but we're not living in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that he gave me this exercise of labeling those things. And recently, I'm just drawing. I'm just doing the other thing that he added me is like label it as a judgment. If some of the sentence that you come up with in judging, circle it up. And
Yeah.
I find that I'm living more in the future than the past because right now it's difficult. But other than that, like
I would say living in the future is probably way healthier. But finding the balance of living in the present as well as planning for the future in a positive way. I mean, that's what we should all be striving for.
well, these are goals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
living in the past, that's what's gonna those are like heavy stones tied to your feet that are just gonna drag you down into the depths.
Right.
You know, if you're focusing on the negative past. Yeah.
it's deep stuff. And
Yep.
but the thing is, like, there is ways to override your past and accept the past. There's like this thing program called emotional fitness. I think you should go in there. Maybe that will.
I'm gonna look into
Yeah,
it.
I'll send
Yeah.
you the link because it's very valuable to me, and you like me. So I mean, who knows? Full circle. And they're very
Full
friendly people
circle,
on that
yeah.
Zoom meeting. It's like I met them at the Wellness Expo, and they were explaining in the class what it was. But the funny thing is, I went into that classroom, whatever, with a person, and it's like I didn't have my afro because the person I was with told me to remove this afro. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll respect that, whatever, because it's so big. Like if I sit in front of somebody, right? So we sat, and then it's like the person in the front, Michelle, is telling me, hey, I wish you had your afro. Oh yeah, okay, sure. I started laughing. Everybody in the room started laughing. It's a positive thing, and these people are there for a reason, right? And everybody has their own trauma, like their own story and stuff like that brought them where they are right now. So Michelle kind of like asked the people in the rooms, like, who would like to be a guest for me to explain or present sort of a tool that they use in emotional fitness. I was like, yeah, sure, me, whatever.
Yeah.
Pro, and then she gave me this side, and then she walked around, and I was in the front of the room. But at the same time, I wanted to challenge my stage fright, and I was comfortable because I practiced this stage fright over 2 weeks with this, going to Champlain Mall and everywhere, and I was comfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't have to think too much. I was just straightforward. 10 years ago, I would have fried. I would have looked so weird and so uncomfortable. Like it's trying to force this stage fright of yourself, because that stage fright is against becoming yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So instead, you control it so that it can empower you.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. Oh, I needed this podcast today.
It's all coming.
Oh man, you have no idea. This has been, it's been a rough journey for a lot of people over the past few years with the pandemic, and as things have opened back up, financially, households are not where they were, and people are struggling, and so this particular podcast today has really been good soul food. So I really thank you for coming on as a guest. I needed this.
That's live.
Yeah, well, I hope there are other people who will listen and get that same sort of, oh yeah, well that makes sense, and try out these things of challenging your stage fright. And that's what it is, stage fright. The fear of being authentic despite.
Yeah, despite what you.
So, yeah, this is.
It's oh man, trust me. I went some stuff that it was like.
Yeah.
Just the experience of going to this Quebec competition for this opera singing. I went this out of nowhere. And it's funny thing is, the same circle, the same energy is that I went outside, I put a big sign, free hugs, I sing your happy birthday for free, and I'm
wow.
behind this paper, whatever, I don't know, And it was like the Baker told me to Scotfield that was a campaign going on. But I didn't know about that until I started hugging one person, because I gave myself a challenge. Let's try to hug as many people today.
Right.
Despite how I am, despite what people think, right? Or the people I don't know. So I hugged but I wanted to challenge it. I don't know why I did that, but I challenged myself up. And
what a great thing to do.
Yeah. And me and my friend will do it down to Moncton at some point. That she sent me a message with the big thing, the guy's having a big sign and it's like free hugs. Well, I guess we'll do it down there, because I said challenge accepted. Right? But I started.
That's so great.
Going outside my comfort zone in that same routine. I ended up with an inspired idea. Let's put a giant sign. Not afraid, just go with it. Boldness, man. And it's like, write this up, go outside. First thing I do, I walk out, people start looking at me, and it's like, they're starting laughing in the car. It's like, what the heck is this guy doing? But
unbelievable.
That, so we're judging ourselves. But once you're doing an idea and you go follow through it, you'll have new ideas. Yeah. And domino for me.
To all the people out there who are listening to the audio version of this, you've got to go to the YouTube channel and see the visual, how Andre is presenting himself, and imagine this energy standing out in public with a sign that says free hugs. And how could you say no? You almost want to do it because you want to be able to tell that story when you get back home to your family, to say, I saw this guy with this giant fro and he was giving away free hugs. I had to get a hug from the fro guy. So I think it's great.
They're all talking about the fro. It's not me. Blame the fro,
man. Maybe Bob Ross was onto something,
It's very possible. There's a movie with Owen Wilson or something like that. It's very representing of Bob Ross. It's like, what? Some of my friends sent me this message like, what? No way. There's a trailer for this Bob Ross movie,
great.
Whatever. It's so funny. But
oh man, that's great. Well, where can people find your artwork?
Mostly it's on Facebook, my personal profile. I always use this because I do not trust the Facebook page business and stuff like that, because they've done so many updates over the years that I cannot trust that. But the personal one is the only one I use. But I will extend my post and dump them into the business places. Right. And Instagram. I have a website, but that's with Wix though. But it's all my Facebook really, and my email is andreboulardart.com. andreboulardart at gmail.com. That's my email. Oh, yeah.
Great. So we'll put this information in the write-up that will accompany this podcast. And thank you again, Andre, for being on the podcast. We're going to wrap it up now. And I hope you'll come back on down the road and update us on everything you've got going on.
If I'm still alive.
Yes.
With this
Whoa, that got dark real quick. Holy cow. You just held us at an hour of positive, and then you went super dark real quick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What I bring, blame the throat.
There you go. You never know what you're going to get with Andre.
That's right.
It's great. Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you very much, and we'll talk real soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Cheers.
See you, man.
Painting up some pigs in a pig pen, or be a stand-up comedian.